Hey guys, Blackout Bill with the 57. We're gonna seal this channel. We're gonna pop the power head off, drop the lower unit, change the impeller. We'll check the seals. I don't have a pressure tester. We'll put fresh oil in there and we'll see if it gets milky over time. New power head base gasket, that's just inevitable. And then just reassemble everything and then put a fuel pump ready to go.
Okay, so once the carb's off, you just take your 6 bolts off the intake manifold. You've seen this before. You'll be left with your reed plate, or the reed plate sometimes will come off with the manifold. And you can just, this just is resting there, you can pull that off. You're going to have to get some new gaskets. Reed plate gasket, exhaust manifold gasket. Okay. And you're going to take your pulsers out. Two little rings if you want to put them back. They're going to stay out. And you're going to have a plate like this. And they're not going to pulse anymore. They're going to be flat up against. Okay, so those are gone. And what you're going to do is you're going to seal this channel. Well, that's what we're going to do. I'm going to seal it with 3M, heat it up, and then we're going to be done. We did the vacuum cap. I wasn't a fan. At least the blue motor never ran right. So we're going to try this method, see if it runs better. And we're going to take blue apart and find out what went wrong. So
Power head base gasket is pretty simple. 6 bolts on the bottom. I'm just gonna die soon. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 and 6 around the other side. And just keep recording until the thing dies. Find the other 6 here. And then whoever did this one was nice enough to put in some new hex bolts, so we can always use a socket later on. And it should lift straight up. Straight up and off. We got some clay in some areas that would have been problematic, some water mixing with some bad seals. We'll change all of that, which is always nice. But here's your bolts for your lower unit, big bang boom, your assembly for your exhaust housing, some milky water in there mixing. Something wasn't 100% right, whether it was some loose bolts or what, but we'll get to that. But now it's off. We can pop the spark plugs off for some to work on our conversion, which should be very simple, and we'll get to that in a second. Alright, we gotta get all this crap out of here. The washer was attached to the motor, and you got this thing around, little metal base housing, spring. And it's missing. Okay, so that's a good one. It's missing the carbon fire washer seal. So very milky and oily, probably leaking all the way down there. That is because that carbon seal is not. It's got a little O-ring in it. It stops all the stuff from going down. I use my needle nose for that. So it's missing something. And luckily, I have that something. Funny. Yeah, it's missing the whole carbon fiber seal, and in that seal is an O-ring. Oop. So now all I need is a new O-ring, and I got it. Yay! That's a first. Usually the parts are there. They're either just broken or seized in there. And then the roll pin is there, and a lot of times that's supposed to come out. But I've been seeing people change everything with the roll pin in, so we're going to try that as well. And then we got to take this fuel fitting off. We're going to clean all this up. Take your 3/8. This is the 10, it's too big. And they're brass, so I don't want to ruin them. 3/8, this should be 2 of them and a star. Oop. The camera stays still. I am working on my camera. I don't know if I'm just that bad or if I'm so klutzy. I don't have the right equipment. I keep banging the camera. I got you on the surface that is shaky and wobbly, which is making everybody sick. So that's disconnected. That'll slide out once you undo your bottom lower half. Pop the lower unit off. Seal clean. Blip blip blip. Coming along. When you're converting these motors to the single line, you don't have to take the power head off, but because I'm doing everything else, I just figured it was, I'll just do it now. I took the spark plugs out. You do not have to take the spark plugs out. I just took them out so that I can lay it flat on the surface. And what we're going to try this time, because what happened is the blue motor, it's not running right. And I don't think it's my repair, but I can't prove it. So what we'll do with this one is we'll do the permanent one, and the blue one, what we'll do is we use the vacuum cap method. So we'll pull the cap out, see if it runs under normal pressure tank conditions. If it's having the same symptoms, then I'll know I did something wrong in my repair of the engine. So we'll go through all that. That's the next project after we finish up red here. What we're going to do is we're going to fill this channel with this here, and then we're going to heat it up with heat gun to facilitate drying. I'm going to clean up the excess that's going to sit on me. I don't want this stuff gets tacky real quick, so be careful with that 3M. I'm using 847. It is crazy tacky. All it wants to do is stick everywhere. So that channel's filled, and the idea is no air is going to escape past that. And the gasket, when it goes on, is going to fit like this. And I want to make sure that that channel's filled up pretty good. So, looks pretty good. So we're going to let that dry, and then that's it. We're going to reassemble. We're going to clean up the bottom for the new power head base gasket. But that's all part of the reassembling process. But that's what you need to do to get it to the single line system. So those little pulses that go on this plate here are not going to go back. So it's basically making the intake manifold just function as an intake manifold as opposed to a pulse air pressure system. The easier way to do this is to find the plate that goes on the side here that takes the crankcase pressure and pushes it and function and makes the fuel pump functional. And there's a way to drill and tap that too. I just don't have that means, and I'm always looking for that plate, and I just never come across it. I always get the motor that doesn't have it. So that's where we're at with this one. So conversion complete for now. We'll reassemble, show you guys, check it out. What I'm always talking about with these lower units, they even the other two were hard to come out, so I gotta cut them. I'm not worried about damaging this. I have more of those, but I want to cut it at the top so that this will come off, and then I'll have something to grip on so I can get those bolts out in the end. Okay, with a lot more banging and a lot more prying and a lot more breaking stuff, which I really don't want to do. Finally, I've been working at this thing for like an hour. love the other videos that when they first get it, they're like, oh, I've been doing this for so long, it's never this bad. It's like my 15th time beating the crap out of a water pump housing to get the damn thing off. But in any case, it's finally off. Water pump don't look so bad. It was pumping water, but we're gonna pull the whole assembly out once it cools down. There's my stuck screws. At least I got plenty there to beat apart. I learned that the hard way. So what we'll do is we'll hit it right now. It's not exactly PV blasted, but it'll work its way in there. Then we'll heat it and work it and heat it and work it. We'll get the vice grips on it, and eventually those will come off. But there's success, finally. Hopefully I didn't damage the plate too bad, and I think it looks okay. Well, like I said, I got another. Getting a small collection going. I'm sure one of those would have fit. I like to hit it right after. That instant cool down effect to kind of like expand the metal. Probably be better if you hit it while it's hot. I like hitting it with the WD right after it's done. Aha! There she goes. 70% of the outboards I get in my basement. These bolts are seized in there. Drilled out cases, ruined cases. Very, very rarely do they come out at all easily. It's like I'm working it and it's loose already. If it's not loose, what's going to happen is you're going to pry up on it and you're going to break it. Your best bet is to spin it. Get an old casing. Brandon's garage will show you. Put the bolts in the bottom and twist it. This one is coming. I'm being very gentle with it. These plates are expensive on eBay. If you don't care about it, they're available. Jump on eBay, pick yourself up one for $100. And alright, she's apart now. We just gotta get the seal out of this. That is nasty. Hopefully this seal install goes better than my other ones. I picked up some gasket seal compound. This stuff instead of ultra black. Coat. There. Falls. The reason I'm not a surgeon. 20 minutes of video. I can't even get the damn thing started. Holy shnikes, I think I did it. Whew. It's in, it's flush, it's deep. I'm gonna probably, I couldn't tell you if we can go in there. Just give it another whack for good measure. Just to say, hey, we did it. That's it, seal's in. So I cleaned up the housing a little bit, and cleaned up the wear plate in a little bit, and here's our originals. And here's a spare I have. So this one's pitted as hell. I mean, this thing saw some saltwater corrosion. Let's go side by side view. You can see how much pitting there is. So we're gonna put this one that I had on my shelf on it, and then I also beat the wear plate up pretty good with the screwdriver getting off. But this would be nice if I find one that's broken. We'll replace it with this one I had hanging up. These two probably went together. It's all pitted and crappy. So I don't know if my shot was good. Also. You can see the difference. This one's just in a lot better shape. So we'll run with this guy. And the newer plate. Same part number, same everything. And we'll save these for a rainy day. Alright, like I was saying, I do have a set, so here's a gasket for that. And then I was looking at the seals. I have a lot of kits that have this seal. Didn't seem like it fit. It was like the outer diameter was too wide. So my guess is that these seals are for the motors that don't have the plate, and then the seal here are for the motors that do. The seal that did fit nicely. They don't look to be original Evinrude seals. This one kind of does. But it's too wide, so if it doesn't fit, don't force it. But the larger diameter seal is probably for the motors that don't have that separate plate. You can Google the years on that one. In any case, so we got a gasket now. We're going to throw the assembly together, put the little unit back together. So we've installed the plate, put a little sealant on the gasket, put a little sealant on the underside of the wear plate, and we're just going to... The drive shaft I cleaned up real nice. It's all black and sooty because I don't believe they had that seal put together on the bottom of the motor, but we fixed that. We will be fixing that. And then we're going to slide our housing back on, our new water pump back on, our pin for the water pump goes there. So I'm spinning it clockwise, and I got everything into the housing there, and then we can just slide everything into place. So everything's in and tight. Now that it's been cleaned up and nice, it should come off nice for the next guy. Okay. Let's get the body back, put the lower unit back in. Okay, so the important part of the conversion. This fitting's going to come off, so we got to undo the 7/16 bolt under there, take this fitting off, feed these tubes out. Then we'll put our new fitting in, we'll put our new hose through that hole, and ready to go. In here we got the cup, we got the spring, then we got the carbon whatever with the rubber O-ring in it now that that's fixed, and then the washer and the gasket there. Power head's ready to go on, and then we can get our new fitting. Come to me, one of these guys. There we go, and that'll fit there. I'm gonna get a hose line on that and through there, set it up, ready to go. It's easier now than before the power. It's easier to do now before the power head's on. Okay, now that the power head base gasket's in place, so put the power head on. Okay, literally slides right on once you're lined up, and then we're gonna figure out these are not the original bolts. We're gonna wiggle it and play with it and push the gasket so that a couple holes are in, a couple bolts are in, and then you know your gasket's lined up. And the gasket could move on you, but it's a little bit of a balancing act. But it's, when I tell you it's not that bad, it's not that bad. Then the pump's going to have the pulse line from the manifold. It's got to inject the pulse, and then the outlet for the fuel pump's going to go right to the carb. Let me hook that up, and I'll show you how we do it. From what I gather, pulse one is on the outside no matter what. Look at all the modern fuel pumps. That outside nipple is for the fuel inlet. Our intake manifold is now pulsating air, not sucking or pushing, pulsating the fuel pump. That line goes to the outside. Our fuel is going to be in through the top, and we're going to make it come out through the back. Okay, so this will be cut. That'll be a shorter lead in the top. Pulse from the manifold pulses the pump, sucks the fuel in, pushes the fuel out. That's to the carburetor. It's the only line I got to connect. That's how we're going to run it. Made myself a little cam roller. I wasn't happy with the butterfly valve isn't opening up all the way. There is a divot in that thing, so we just took a piece of hose and wrapped it around the top of it, and that's giving me my nice flat, straight throttle plate at full throttle. I may have to put some more water in this barrel. This is our first start with the fuel. Thank you, babies. Matthew, the master mechanic, just overseeing operations here, and see if she runs with the new fuel line conversion. I sure hope it does. Big one, I'm forgetting. Running really solid. What you didn't see was I used starting fluid to start it. Just to see if we can get it going. So it did start up. It did idle. It was pumping water. I know the smoke is billowing. I don't know why it's smoking that much. Unless the rear crank seal is actually in the best shape it's ever been. We got to see if we can get it started without the starting fluid. What I've been learning, even though like you think you're not harming anything by just spraying some starting fluid to get it going, it is okay. But you can only do it once or twice, because what happens is the motor develops a tolerance for it, or it burns hotter. There's a whole thing involved where the motor will need it to start every time. They call them ether baby motors. So now that I know it starts with the starting fluid, I mean, you can use carburetor cleaner, it'd be a little bit better, or even best bet, have some pre-mixed fuel to spray right into the carburetor. But now that I know it does run and idle, now we'll try to figure out why it won't start initially. You can't keep spraying starting fluid to diagnose it. You're just going to leave it. A lot quieter than before. Definitely sucking some of its own fumes. That is a lot of smoke. Wish I had a fan. Excellent diagnosis here. So again, for the fuel lines, here's your pulse. Now I don't know if this is a Briggs & Stratton, it might be an aftermarket, but I don't know if it's going to be the same every way. But we got our pulse here. Tried to stop before stall. The throttles on these is not very responsive. There's so much slop in the gear itself. This is how much I'm turning the handle. I'm not getting any response. So I tend to get these to stall a lot. But starts in one pull, that is excellent. We got a nice idle. I'm not even going to touch the needle. Don't touch the needle. What do I do? Touch it. Turning a half out, that's the ticket. Idle's great, pumping water great, that's a success. Here's our pulse. Here's our fuel in, fuel out. In from the line, out to the car. Pulse, fuel in, fuel out. throw the hood on, put everything back together, check her on the water. Check reverse. Looks good. That's it. 7.5 with the conversion running nice. Pumping water real good. It's not even a brand new impeller in it, it's like new. We can adjust the high speed on the water. Put her all back together like factory, and we'll show you what she looks like. Alright, well that's going to be a wrap on the 7.5. It does run in idle, but we are having a problem at high speed. Not even high speed, just under a high rev. Pushing water, running good, and then all of a sudden it just starves for fuel and then stalls. Primer bulb goes flat, and you have to reprime everything. Normally that would indicate like a faulty fuel pump or a sucking too much air or air in the line and everything, but what I think may be happening is this pump, I don't know, it's not working because this is a different pump. I have another 7.5 doing the same exact thing. This style Briggs & Stratton pumps, which everyone uses, there's a bunch of YouTube videos on them, but none of them are on the water, so until we get a new fuel pump, this is it. I'm going to take these pumps off. I'm going to put a different style pump on there as per some advice. So, as of right now, I'm happy with the conversion. It does work. The motor idles and runs great. It's just once you start giving it some power, some juice, either the fuel pump's not sucking enough air or the fuel's not getting there or whatever the case. So, that's it. That's where we're at. It's the second motor I've done it to. It's the second problem I'm having. The only other option is to get a... You know, we're going to have to drill and tap, put a plug here, and then get a third style pump and use this as a pulse instead of the manifold. So that's going to be step 10 if we get there. So thanks for checking it out. We're not done with this motor, but you will see it in the future. In the meantime, sub up. We're flying. We're cooking. We're cooking with gas here. 614,000's right around the corner. Appreciate every one of you, especially my new guys. Especially the old people who are hanging around not subscribing. Hopefully we hit 1,000 soon so I can shut up about it. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next video.